So,
thank you very much for having me.
ladies and gentlemen, this is the AfricaNEV Podcast, where we talk about sustainable energy and transport of Africa. My name is Gad Ashiagbo. I'm here with my co-hosts.
I'm Oluko Kuntolu-Lokwe.
Yes.
Welcome, everybody.
Yes, and today we want to talk about the giants of Africa and their automobile market. And our special guest today is Tunde Onakoya, the only mechanic in Nigeria. Yeah.
I'm sure that's pure flattery.
Yeah. And the host of the Autoclinic. Yes, I can see your background, very lovely. Tunde, we are welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. So can you tell us a bit about yourself? How did you get into the whole entire automobile space and what are you doing currently?
So I said the journey started about a decade ago when I looked into the automotive industry in Nigeria and realized that two things were really missing. One of it is that the knowledge gap between manufacturers and service technicians is pretty wide, which has brought about the inability to efficiently manage vehicles that are being imported into the country. Now, that's one side. The other side is that the system seems not to be supporting building the next generation of technicians, which would end up taking interest more in probably the engineering part of it. Because if you can build a maintenance industry, it is easier for you to begin to build the industry itself, because you can't do proper maintenance if you don't have enough knowledge of the system. So out of curiosity of, is this the best we can get? Is this how best to go about it? Looking at the haphazard way that a lot of mechanics in Nigeria, in local parlance, they are called roadside mechanics.
Okay.
So looking at it from that perspective, the question is, in the next 10, 15, 20 years, I mean, that was a decade ago, when vehicles are now more mechatronic than just mechanical, will we have service technicians that will be able to handle these cars when they come into the country? So because of that, somebody like me, I have a computer engineering background, decided to say, okay, you know what? Let's look into this. Let's do it better. So how do we do it better? We will bring in international best practices, but we will domesticate the knowledge in such a way that people would be able to relate. We would speak to people in their language that they understand, and we will make it relatable for them in the way we conduct ourselves. And that is how the journey has been. And that journey had taken me through a few continents where for the quest of knowledge and also to do some practice to see how things are done over there. So that's basically it. And that's why I do what I do. So I'm a maintenance mechanic. I do carry out vehicle maintenance. I do tuning when I need to do tuning. And of course, one of the most important aspects of what I do is that I train people to come into the automotive ecosystem.
Good.
Now, when I say the ecosystem, I think that what the general assumption is that in this industry, there are about 4 different categories of people. One being the designers of the cars themselves, the second category being the maintenance engineers, the third category being the spare parts sellers, and then the fourth category being the vehicle dealers themselves. Aside these 4 categories of people, the assumption is that that's where the ecosystem ends. But nobody is talking about people that will take up used parts, upcycle, recycle as necessary. Nobody is looking at service advisors in the industry. Nobody is looking at car sales people that are doing online sales. So looking at it, the body shop, the accident repair, collision repair, there's a lot. The industry has about 15, 20 different areas that people can explore instead of the traditional 4. So we consistently engage our students as such in the training so that they know that the ecosystem is bigger than what they imagine it to be. And that's what we do and how we do it.
Yeah. Okay. So over the course of the past 10 years, the question you ask yourself at the beginning of the journey, has things panned out the way you expected?
Okay, I would say this. There's a popular saying that I picked up about 10 years ago before I started, which says that it is easier to fool people than to convince them they are being fooled.
That's interesting.
Yes. If I wanted to come into the industry and do what everybody else is doing, I think things will be a lot easier for me because people are used to the way everything is being done. But to convince people that it can be better done, it's a arduous task. And so you find out that, and I've come to realize that, and that's why I'm focusing a lot more on that, that educating people about the importance of what you do is more important than the execution you are putting in place. The people need to accept what you do first. They need to know and understand what you do first. Then your job will be a lot easier after that. And that is one of the reasons I host the radio show that I have. I mean, the radio show has been going on now for about 9 years. And it's been week. We've been doing it 3 times a week at some point before we moved it into a weekly radio show now. And in all fairness, it has brought about the kind of knowledge we want people to have so far. And it has brought people to understand a lot more about the industry. Like in the last 2 weeks, one of the things we discussed has been hybrid and electric vehicles. And I'm sure that with those 2 episodes we had, one of the advantages of it is that the feedback we are getting from people suggests now that the myth surrounding hybrid and electric vehicles is actually disappearing gradually based on that kind of education that we brought to them.
I actually wanted to talk about that. I mean, so far you are one person that has raised the bar when it comes to automotive industry in Nigeria, because I do not want to, personalize it like Ibadan people alone, because I mean your reach is far than here. So I wanted to mention the weekly auto program. And I wanted to say again that was it really that hard to convince people about what you do? Because, I mean, when I listen to your program, the kind of people that call in seems to rely on your solution rather than their, other quack roadside mechanic that may be available. So, I mean, for this period that we've met, that I've been interacting with you, I would say that you've done brilliantly well. I mean, you've ecosystem, so to say, and I really want to commend you for that.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I didn't ask a question, but I didn't hear an answer from Tunde.
Yeah. Well, he's asking the question if it has been that hard. I'd say that I'll give you a very good example. How do you easily convince people that are used to putting water in the radiator of their car that the best thing to use is radiator coolant?
It's a personal question.
It's tough. It's a very tough thing to do. How do you convince them that?
Except because that doesn't cost anything and coolant costs money. It will be very hard.
Now, how do you convince people that brake fluid is hygroscopic and you need to replace it at intervals? And because the answer you will get is that, well, there's nothing wrong with my brake. Why do I change the brake fluid? So yes, it has been tough to actually get people to understand that these little things, and I always make an example. I'd say, in my opinion, Nigeria is one of the few countries in the world where there's a massive replacement of powertrain parts. It will be about the highest in the world. Engines replacement, transmission replacement. Nigeria is one of those countries where it is rampantly replaced. It's a huge market. And
Why?
that tells you, yes, it is
Maintenance.
poor maintenance that is causing it.
Yes.
It is poor maintenance. And I'll tell you this. About 2 years ago, I was in Dubai for a conference called Automechanica Dubai. The taxi that took me from my hotel was a 2012 Toyota Camry. And I looked at the instrument cluster of that car. It was on 780,000 kilometers. And so I engaged the driver about, so what has the maintenance been like? How is this car doing and the rest? He said, well, it has not changed the engine before. It hasn't changed the transmission before. He has simply been following the routine maintenance that he's supposed to do at a proper shop. And that's what has been done on that vehicle, even though the car has clocked 780,000 kilometers. The question is, in this part of the world, you will see vehicles less than 100,000 kilometers. In fact, I'll tell you, some of them less than 50,000 kilometers. They need engine replacement because the engine is already smoking. And when you ask the car owners, one of the things they say is that the road condition around here is bad. And I wonder if the road condition is what is putting the strain on the engine. I wonder if this road condition is what's putting that much strain on the transmission. Actually, if you have that kind of road condition, of course, the kind of engine oil you should even use is for extreme driving, if you think that is the condition you found yourself in. So it's a challenge around here where the cheapest form of oil available for people to service their car includes 20W50 engine oil. If it is 20W50 engine oil that's available for people to service their car, I don't know any vehicle in the last 30 years that requires 20W50 to service. But it's still the highest selling engine oil in Nigeria. 20W50 is mineral oil. Most engines run on 5W20 and 30 and 5W40 in the worst case scenarios. But what do you get? So if you look at it from that perspective, maintenance culture is zero around here. Knowledge about the right thing to do is also a problem. And the economics of it also is an issue. Because every time people approach me to talk about the cost of maintenance of a car, I always, for it to make sense, I have to denominate it in dollars for it to make sense. Now, is it possible for you anywhere in a reasonable environment for you to service your car for less than $50? Answer is no. You can't service any car less than $50. But if you convert $50 to Nigeria's currency today, you're looking at about 20,000 naira. An average person wants to service his car for under $8, $10. Now,
it's a miracle working country.
Do you understand? So if you look at it, if you want to service your car under $15, what are you expecting in results? You can't buy the quality of oil required. You can't buy the quality of filter required. And if you cannot do those things, I mean, that's about as basic as it gets on a vehicle. Then you will ruin the engine, and then you will ruin the transmission, and then you ruin the brakes, and you realize that a car has an average of 2 years lifespan in Nigeria before it gets messed up. And that is creating a huge pile of mechanical waste that we are doing almost nothing with.
Okay, I think that I wanted to, in that vein, shift the conversation a bit.
Okay.
I want us to talk about the entire market. We will come back to this whole maintenance thing when we go to EVs specifically. How we can see the screen. Very good.
Yeah, great.
Now, there's something I observed. This is Nigeria. Okay. On the left.
Mm-hmm.
In 2014, your government deployed this Nigerian Automotive Industrial Development Policy.
Yes.
With the stated aim of accelerating the adoption, the local assembly of vehicles. Because of that policy, you as a country increase duties on passenger cars to 70%, 35% duty, 35% levy, 70%. You also granted those who are under the policy, the vehicle assemblers who are under the policy, duty-free import of cars into the country per a given ratio. However, when you look at this graph, you see that after the policy was implemented, sales went down. This is for new vehicles. Please, okay, please can you mute your mic? Sales of used vehicles.
Everybody at once.
Okay, so sales of used vehicles went down. Sorry, of new vehicles went down drastically. You can see. The other side is that in that year, we had the oil shock. So Nigeria's economy was negatively impacted. However, we did not see a commensurate increase in the number of locally assembled vehicles. Rather, we saw increased smuggling. Why did the policy fail?
Oh, interesting. I think the policy itself, those that put the policy in place in the first instance had, at best, haphazard knowledge of how the industry works. You don't jump the gun in any industry worldwide. You have a systemic approach to solving a known problem. If you go back and look at how the United States of America, for example, became self-sufficient to a reasonable extent in both imports and locally manufactured vehicles, it was a systemic approach.
Wait. Before you go there, yes. Let me interrupt your train of thought.
Okay.
I feel that is not a fair comparison because Henry Ford basically invented the industrial approach of vehicle assembly.
Okay.
So
I will tell you how that is relevant. I will tell you how it is a fair comparison and it is relevant. And this is where I'm coming from. I'm not focusing on Ford and the rest. I'm focusing on imports into America. Toyota, Honda, Nissan, Mercedes, BMW, and the rest.
So basically post-1980.
Yes. What the United States government did at first was that they looked at how that import is impacting their local market in terms of people's taste for foreign vehicles, especially when those ones became more aesthetically appealing and they were reasonably priced as well. So the government looked at it. Yes, and the government looked at it from that perspective and they said, okay, you know what? We're going to start out by limiting the number of these units of these vehicles that can come into the US annually. So they limited the number. Now, when they limited that, they gave them quota, they limited the number, they realized that people were waiting for the next year. There was a waiting line for the next year when they finished up, exhausted the quota for this year. So from that point, they said, okay, you know what? If any vehicle is going to come into America, it must meet so and so specification. So it means you will have to meet those stringent conditions to bring them into America. Of course, that also helped them to develop a standard for their market. Now they moved away from there. They now said, you know what? When you're bringing in your vehicles, they must contain at least 20% American-made spare parts.
Okay.
Now, when they moved into 20% American-made, so it meant that they will ship in the vehicle. Either they come and pick up spare parts from the US to complete the job so they can bring it into America, or they ship in the vehicles without those parts, and then they start putting them together in the US, which is growing local expertise during that period. They moved up from there. At some point, they now put a quota on it that, you know what? You cannot bring in fully built vehicles into America anymore. You have to come and complete the production from SKD to full production in the US. And then it became only reasonable and economically reasonable for the manufacturers to begin to set up plants in America. And that's how you gradually moved them or nudged them into America. Today, people keep talking about South Africa, for example, in Africa, as a hub for manufacturing. But they are not really a hub for vehicle manufacturing. But they are not saying the main reason that is happening. One of the most expensive components on a vehicle, the catalytic converter, is domiciled in South Africa, being one of the largest exporters of catalytic converter in the world. Because the material used in making catalytic converter, which is rhodium, titanium, and the rest, are naturally available in South Africa. So South Africa did not say we have this, and you know what, let's start manufacturing vehicles. No, they started supplying catalytic converter to the automotive industry. And when they started doing that, at some point, they were the largest exporters of catalytic converter. Now, if catalytic converter on a vehicle, each is worth about $2,500, and you need 4 to manufacture a certain car, which is about $10,000. And then the entire vehicle you intend to sell at $22,000. It might make some sense to actually just get closer to your most expensive raw material for manufacturing. So for me, why did that policy fail in Nigeria? I'll tell you, it's very straightforward. Because even if the manufacturing as the Nigerian government wanted to achieve were to come to Nigeria, Nigerians will not benefit from it. When I say that even if local manufacturing had kicked off full-time as at the time the policy was put in place, Nigerians would not fully really benefit from that sector. And the reason is because we have skipped a very, very important phase in our national development. And that phase that we skipped was institutionalizing vocational and technical education. Now, if we had been able to do that, and we had our technical colleges and our monotechnics actually producing the kind of skilled workforce that the industry requires, then we will have the manpower to actually run whatever factory we want to bring in. And the ecosystem can be properly dominated by Nigerians.
Okay, I do appreciate the fact that you are so much focused on ecosystems. I believe that it is the one thing that a lot of our policymakers don't seem to understand, that the automotive industry is a value chain. Yes, that is where the benefits are. However, to push back on what you were saying,
yes,
Nigeria, the population is 200 million.
Mm-hmm.
Your middle class is around 30 million. That is basically the population of Ghana.
Yes.
Hello.
Right?
Yes.
Please.
Excuse me?
Your video, your camera, please.
Oh, it's off, eh? Oh, okay. It's not okay. So your population is 200 million. Your middle income is 30 million. The population of Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
Your purchasing power, is like $5,000 or so. However, yes. I was reading somewhere that about 2% of the population can afford a car. This automotive policy that was implemented by Nigeria is in so many ways similar to that of Ghana. So there is a financing component.
Yes.
There is the idea that imports will be made much more expensive than locally assembled vehicles. Okay? Your telecom sector is dominated by foreign operators, just like Ghana.
Yes. Yes.
But people patronize them. So if
Yes.
the cars are made affordable and how do you call it? Imports are being discouraged.
Yes.
Some way, somehow, there should be an uptick. You see, the graph that we saw or that we are seeing, let me share that again. It's a very peculiar graph. I'm talking about this.
Yes.
So you can see that 2014, that policy was implemented.
Yes.
2015, sales went down because of the policy and low oil prices that negatively impacted your economy. But 2016, 2017, 2018, oil prices have come up. But we are not seeing the commensurate increase. And for those listening, for every one brand new car that is sold in Nigeria, 4 used ones are being bought.
Yes.
So the ratio is 1:4. That is what I fail to understand.
Okay, let me make you understand a few things about the economics of it. One is, like I said, affordability is still an issue. In 2015, I'll tell you, in 2015, 1 million Nigerian naira was the equivalent of about $5,000 plus.
Okay.
Today, 1 million Nigerian is barely 2,000, let's say $2,100.
Wait, in the space of 4 years?
Yes, in the state of 4 years.
Okay.
Now, if you look at that, you would think.
Please hold your thought briefly, because this session is being recorded and we need to present a very good view. Dad, your camera is still off, and I need to let you realize that.
Okay. No problem.
And
please continue.
Okay, so if you look at that, it might suggest to you that the import market is supposed to do well. But look at it, the purchasing power of whoever it is has reduced drastically over the past 4 to 5 years. So the alternative will still remain the used cars.
Definitely.
Now, I will now tell you the impact of that in Naira and Kobo as well. As at 2014, a brand new Toyota Corolla in Nigeria was going for between 3.5 to 4 million naira. Today, a brand new Toyota Corolla in Nigeria goes for between 15 and 18 million naira. So,
wow.
So who is going to buy the brand new? And the income of an average Nigerian in terms of naira and kobo has not increased to match the inflation rate. So even people that are going to manufacture cars locally in Nigeria are buying all the parts, including the semi-knockdown, complete knockdowns, in US dollars. If they bring the vehicles into Nigeria and put it together, can any of them sell their vehicles for less than 10 million naira? Do not forget, the minimum wage in Nigeria is 30,000 naira.
No. That has not been fully implemented, you know.
Let's put it at 30. Let's put it at 30,000. Let's put it at 30,000. So if you look at it critically, if somebody is earning 100,000 naira in a month, is earning 1.2 million naira per year. And the cheapest brand new car you can get is 10 million naira. So it's going to have to save for a minimum of 10 to 15 years to afford a brand new car.
That is serious.
It's a serious one. So that's why I said it is best to put it in perspective, not just look at the data from an abstract point of view.
So it means that the effect of the policy is you just force people to. That is why smuggling is increasing or has increased.
So you're just forcing people. Now, if you ask me, and that's what I've told everybody that cared to listen, is that for us to actually be able to get that policy to function properly, we need to come back and look at how to grow our own economy. And one of the best ways we can grow our economy, if we really want to participate in the vehicle manufacturing sector of the world, is to start by focusing on manufacturing vehicle parts locally. Spark plugs, tires. We used to make tires in Nigeria. We've stopped making them. Let's make rims from forged aluminum. Let us make windshields. Let us make the fabric and the leather they are using inside vehicles. Let's begin to export all of this to generate forex. At some point, one or two manufacturers might want to get closer to their source of raw materials. You said what?
Okay. I want to ask another related question. Before you were talking about maintenance and the challenges in the
I lost you guys for a few seconds. I don't know.
Okay, I was saying that you were talking about maintenance and the challenges in the automotive space in Nigeria when it comes to maintenance. Okay, now we know that EVs, relatively speaking, are maintenance free. If you look, I want us to. Can you see the screen? I think it's kind of frozen.
Yes, I can see.
Yes, I can see the screen. Go on.
I was trying to show a slide, but it seems my okay. Good. So you see this. In terms of parts, EVs, you have less parts, less maintenance. It also means that today, your people, you have less work to do. But the longevity of EVs is going to be far better than the internal combustion-based cars. Is Nigeria ready for the EV revolution?
No.
Well, I'll give you a very...
Wait, somebody say no.
No, I wouldn't say we are not ready. I would say that our perception to the implementation is why we would think that we are not ready. Nigeria is actually ready for it. I'd say that.
Why?
However, we must domesticate whatever approach we want to use to get into the EV world. Now, it is not sustainable for us as a country to start massive importation of EV vehicles, of EVs. It will not work. The first approach we can consider, because we have to know that this is going to be a gradual process. The first approach we can consider is how do we convert our existing vehicles into EV-powered vehicles?
No. For that, I can, for anybody listening, and for those who will be watching on YouTube later, let me say outright that for now, that is not economically viable. So if you are watching this, know that you cannot just convert an ICE car into an EV at this stage at scale, because the batteries are the most expensive parts of the electric vehicle powertrain. And well, until Tesla Battery Investor Day, that I expect that we'll maybe hear something like $90 per kilowatt hour for a battery. It is not economically feasible. Maybe if you have a luxury car, or maybe one of these rare automobiles that you want to convert, so the car is very expensive already, it will make economic sense.
I'll take you up on that. I will take you up on that. Tolu, please, just a sec. You know why I will take you up on that?
Please do.
When I was taking a course at Paris Tech, about 3 years ago, talking about electronic mobility, and you need to see what Peugeot Citroën has done in that area. One of the things they have done is that they have stopped selling. They have devised a method not to sell batteries alongside with their vehicles. The batteries in the vehicles are now leased items that when they get towards their end of life are recovered by the company and you pick up another battery.
The thing about that, I've had this conversation with Olukokun. It's on a podcast for over 3 hours. You see, the thing about that is that for that business model to work, somebody must be willing to pre-finance the cost.
That is going to happen. The reality is that it is going to happen. It is going to happen.
I have absolutely every confidence that it will happen. But
now,
what I'm saying is that within the next 2 years, it's not a viable option.
Now, why? I'll give you 2 reasons why that is very viable. Very soon. Now, number 1 reason is that we already have an electricity challenge in Africa, in Nigeria, which means that there is a market. There's a market for used EV batteries to be converted for home use. That is a major thing that is being done.
Fantastic. I agree.
Now, because that is in place, it means that they can this can be milked a lot better in Nigeria than it can be milked anywhere else in the world. If you take out an EV battery in America today, there's no ready recipient to use it in his home.
Yeah, but you see how that works. This is the second use market. For those who don't understand why Tunde is saying what he's saying, it's very simple. If you're using a battery pack for mobility application, let's say for a car, the power demand is much more than if you're using it for storage for your house. Because when you press the accelerator, you are pulling a lot of energy instantaneously
from the battery.
As compared to the house where the power you may demand at any one time is more sedate. Yes. So the industry is calling it the second use market. You see, the thing with that is that the people who use the battery first for mobility are actually the ones paying the full price. Then those using it for for home storage are like the end of life users. So to put it in today's car terms, it's like you buying a car with 2,500 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers on the odometer. That car, from an economic point of view, has been used. The economic value has been extracted. Okay, that is why they can afford to sell it at a very cheap price.
Mm-hmm.
You get it? So my point is not that is not a viable plan. I'm sure you know about Oligoku's projects with the EV conversion. Yes,
I do.
I
need us to look at it this way. You see, I'm in the Western world. You would say that the end of life has happened, or basically you can say that the initial cost is borne usually by the initial, by the original user, the first user of the battery.
Good.
In that part of the world. Mm-hmm. So basically what I'm saying is that they can take initial costs, because ordinarily at the end of life, it is a debate on whether people will still be able to use or will not be able to use. In this part of the world, that you are sure, you are guaranteed it will be used. That is going to increase whatever financial projection whoever is will come up with in terms of what the costs will be over the years.
Okay,
and it is a totally different business model from the business model they use on that part of the divide, because
I agree.
The peculiarity over there is different from ours here.
I agree. Want to come in?
I've been listening to the two sides. I've been listening to Gad. I've been listening to Tunde and our guest today. So what both of you need to agree on is that on a larger scale, when it comes to commercial size, conversion might not be economically viable. But individually, in order to go or transition from ICE to electric vehicle, right now in Nigeria, the most sustainable way is conversion, unit by unit. At best, not to fully electric, but to hybrid. And I remember a guy made a particular kind of conversion kit for Honda RT. And those conversion kits go straight into the rear tires where the gas engine is, for the front wheel. So you can switch in between the two, and that's one way to, move to electrification of mobility. Another one is that when Volkswagen was finding it so difficult to get into the EV world, the first thing they did was to sign a contract with a particular German company for vehicle kits, conversion kits. And, it wasn't so sustainable in the sense that they wanted the owners to transport their car to the factory. They were not releasing those kits, for individuals to go ahead and do their stuff. But because of all the economics and the data we have shared on this program, on this conversation, the buying power, the economy of Nigeria, the buying strength of individual, the income, and all of that, if you still put it side by side, conversion is still much cheaper. I read on the chart just now, Samuel saying that the structure, the chassis of electric vehicle is, of ICE vehicle is different to that of electric vehicle. Fine, they are more bulky, they are more, weighty. But what I'm telling you is that a number of people in America own EV because they make conversion. Now, if we must own electric vehicle from brand new, there is no way financing will not come in. So there must be a substantial financial scheme. And the truth is that so far, we have not seen one in Nigeria that is working very well for the automotive industry, for people to own brand new cars, except you already have the money yourself. So from the point where today, I understand, and from the point of God, I understand too. And that's just my contribution.
Olukoko, let me ask you a direct question. You are doing a conversion.
Definitely.
What is the most expensive part of your conversion? The process. What's the most expensive component that you need?
Okay, the battery, because of the mileage I'm trying to achieve.
Good. Now, how are you solving that? You see, there are ways around it, no doubt. But we are talking about something that is replicable at scale.
Scalable and sustainable.
At scale. Okay?
Yes.
So look at that, for example, we can all look out for a lot of these laptop batteries, use laptop batteries, 18650 batteries, and use them for our conversion kits. But is it sustainable at scale? No. What is sustainable? No. See, what I'm trying to say is that, you see, by 2023, okay, converting your petrol and diesel cars into electric cars is going to be a sustainable business. It's something that you can do, all right? But today, if you want to do a conversion, know that it is a kind of one-off, or I think it will come one, because the initial upfront cost, because a battery is basically the drive unit. If you put everything together, we are going for around $10,000. You can buy a used car at that price. Okay, but by in 2 years' time, because now Tesla is ramping up, they have a gigafactory in Shanghai. They are building a new one in Texas. Berlin is coming up. By 2021, this time around, their capacity has increased. Their costs have come down. So all those batteries will begin to see the effects here in Africa in 2 to 3 years' time. It's like currently we are about to enter another session where we're talking about the Tesla Model Y. All these Tesla and all that, these cars that we are seeing, these electric cars, they are well and good. But for Africa, they are not really fit for purpose. Okay? Because we mainly are interested in mass transit. We don't have available mass transit vehicles. But in 2 to 3 years' time, when the cost of batteries come down, Olukoku and I, or Tunde and I don't know, Kwesi or Sami, can decide to start building buses, mass transit, this Nissan, Toyota, his kind of form factor vehicles, because the cost of batteries have now come down.
Yes.
Okay, that is all I am saying. I'm not saying that it is not a viable business. In fact, that is the way to go.
Yeah.
For the legacy cars that we have in the system, it will be like I think about 10 years back there was this thing called Bimbo. I don't know how you call it, where you are in the world, where people are converting their petrol cars to use gas because gas was cheaper. It will be a similar thing. Okay.
Yes.
But it is the economics of it. That's what I'm talking about. Like you look at this chart that you're looking at. This is Nigeria. On the left, you have the electric cars. This is the cost to fuel it with electricity. Then you have the petrol cars. It is not contest. It is not contest. You can see.
Yes, you see, we can agree on the cost. And like I've always mentioned to Tolu, every time we have a conversation, I tell him, I said, see, the only viable solution I know to electronic mobility
we are here.
Network
for Africa, importantly, to make the is in the mass transit system.
Yeah,
exactly.
The moment, can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Perfectly, we can hear you.
Yes.
Is in the mass transit system. The moment we are unable to capture the use of electronic mobility for mass transit, whatever result we are getting, whatever the gains we hope to get, especially in Nigeria, will be null. I give you an example. You told me that the population of Nigeria is about 200 million.
Yes.
According to the National Bureau of Statistics, we still have less than 11 million vehicles in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Yes. You
Now,
have one of the lowest
11
vehicle
million
penetrations in the world.
Exactly. So if we have 11 million vehicles in Nigeria, and of which about 60-70% are commercial transportation, selling EV to private individuals to run will not seem to have any form of impact per se on the clean energy revolution and whatever cost savings we are talking about.
Yeah.
And that is why
I will push back on that one. I'll push back on that.
Okay. Go on, please.
The pushback is this. You see, there is a gap in terms of awareness that we lack on the continent. Okay. So it is the private vehicles that is going to help us bridge that gap. Because now somebody has seen the EV. Oh, one person has sat inside it. So the person can talk from a personal perspective. Okay? And that is what will generate excitement. Now, it is the excitement that will then lead us to where we actually need to be in terms of impact. But there is also a place for the personal vehicles. I hope I've made my point. If anybody has a question, maybe we can take one or two questions from our people. Then we move to the next one. Sammy, do you have a question? I know that you tend to have questions.
Wait for questions.
Yeah, I just answered my question.
You what?
Seeing a question here asking how
viable with mass transit be, since EVs are not still ready for long distance, private vehicle is more feasible today, I think, which is why most are trying to a robo-taxi service. Okay. Hello? Did you hear that question?
Yes, I had the question, and I'll tell him that EVs, how viable are they going to be since they are not ready for long distance? The truth is that EVs are ready for long distance if you look at it very well, and that's. But let's put that aside. Let me assume now that they are not ready for long distance. Most of the mass transit movement we are doing is usually intrastate, in between towns, short drive experiences, vehicles in the park moving distance of 10 kilometers back and forth and all of that. If an EV gets an opportunity to go 10 kilometers at a time and has a battery range of 100 kilometers, it can make 10 trips before it needs to charge again. And it can be charged up in less than an hour or two. And then it can continue its job for the day. So it is still very viable in terms of mass transit, for buses, for vehicles that are doing intra-city transportation. And at the end of the day, really, if you look at the volume of fuel that is being used, the most is for short drive and stop traffic intra-city. The moment we are able to take care of intra-city transportation in an EV way, see those long distance vehicles, we can then move to them, but we don't need them immediately. You want to cut down pollution and emission in a city, take care of the intra-city transportation, and you've solved the problem. You've solved the problem.
Yeah.
I hope that answers the question.
In addition, even in the Western world, in the advanced world, whenever they have a bus stop, they quickly pick up some charges. There are charging stations at every bus stop. So it's not like it's going to be a peculiar situation when it comes to Africa. And the point that you raised, that where EV will be most impactful, the truth is mass transit. Is in mass transit, because of the points we have set out before, the buying power of individuals, the economy, and all of that. That's one. And secondly, of course, the technology has really advanced so much, and we cannot say that electric vehicles are not ready for long distance. Right now, Jet EV secured a $9 million investment from Canada, and they already rolled out a prototype that has driven from Lagos to Benin.
I think 300 kilometers journey,
and that's about 300 kilometers. So if you are saying that electric vehicles are not ready for mass transit, man, we are just living in denial. We need to adopt this solution as quickly as possible.
Okay, gentlemen, we are running late for the next session. Percy has been waiting for us, so please, thank you very much. We just jumped to the next session. There's a couple of questions. Maybe Tunde, you can answer those questions and just send us a video. We'll add it, and then
it's just one question that we have here, really.
Okay, what was that?
To talk about how can we charge as quickly as we refuel. Well, now the thing is, 30 minutes, 1 hour in a very good charging station is enough to take you for another 100 kilometers.
Like I said,
with the current technology.
We shouldn't make a mole out of nothing here. You see, even in China, where EV is most rampant, there is a time you leave active, service. Active service, you stop, your taxi to go and charge. So when you are running on down, switch off your mobile app or whatever and charge if it's for 1 hour, if it's for 2 hours. What we are saying is that what you have will take you a distance, you make the money for it. But when you are talking about the turnaround time lies between you and I. It's this that we are doing. This conversation that we are having is part of it.
And you know that, Tolu, you know that also various charging stations based on
I think Tunde's
your line is not good. We can't hear you.
Tunde's
Keep on
internet is giving
breaking.
you problem again. Yeah.
A lot of questions are coming, God, and I think it's better we answer these questions because this is the time we will have the most impact. You see, they said, someone just wrote here that do we have enough people with technical ability. And
Okay.
Tunde
Let me answer that one. So in terms of technical ability, the skills are already here in the main, but what we lack is the integration of those skills. So today we have electricians, we have people who are motor repairers, we have people who are electronics people, then we have software and IT people. These are the various components that come together for an electric car. But we rarely have somebody who is a software person, who also understands electronics, who also understands mechanics. Okay, so Oluwaku, for example, is one of those people. And we have people like that, but we don't have enough of them. So if you import an EV into an African country right now, you can use the car. If it gets spoiled, you will get people to repair it. But what will happen is that, like currently, even today, if your car gets spoiled, sometimes you need a body paint
specialist
to come and do the painting. You need an engine specialist to come and do this. It's the same thing. Only that it's not together as an ecosystem. So maybe when you send your car to Tunde's shop to repair, Tunde has a mechanic, engine specialist there. He has a painter there. He has a bodyworks guy there. I mean, he has all these people working together in the same shop. We don't have that currently, but the skill set is there. It is not rocket science. Please.
Yeah.
My last point I will make before we wind, because we have to go, is that in terms of usage, the usage pattern for electric vehicles is entirely different from that of EVs. So that of machine engine cars. EVs, the closest comparison I can make is the way you use your phones. All right. Your phone takes a while to charge. Most times, maybe we charge it overnight, or whilst you are doing something, then you are charging your phone. It's the same with EVs. So you charge your phone maybe for a full battery, maybe it takes 6 hours or something, using your home charger. You will be sleeping, your car is charging. When you wake up in the morning, you have a full charge. You can use the car for 4 or 5 days. It's equivalent to getting a full tank of your petrol or diesel car before you need to recharge again. This is why most people who have EVs, 80% of the time, they charge at home. When we are about to talk to Percy, at least one of the questions I would intentionally ask him, you will hear what he has to say. So, gentlemen, for the making of many books, there's no end. You can continue on, but we have to end it here and go to the next session where we talk to somebody who has owned an EV, or this gentleman has owned a Tesla. He currently has 3 Tesla Model 3s. He has owned the Model X, the Model S. The only production Tesla he has not owned is the first Roadster. He now has the Model Y. He has reservations for Cybertruck, the Tesla Semi. He's a shareholder of Tesla. He's the president of the Tesla Owners Club of Waterloo Region, Canada. They actually have the biggest Tesla events in Canada. So, gentlemen and ladies, see you there. We just jump into that one immediately.
I wanted to invite you.
Okay, no problem. Send me the invite. That's it.
All right.
Okay, thank you.